There are stories lurking in every part of Reddit that individuals regret sharing. These include late-night admissions, bizarre unsolved disappearances, and occurrences that defy explanation. Let's now examine some unsettling Reddit discussions. OP is scared about his daughter's imaginary friend, posted on Our Paranormal Encounters. The first post read as, "I am worried about my daughter's safety," posted on March 5th, 2021. "Hello, I couldn't sleep, so I thought now would be a good time to post this. So I have an 8-year-old daughter. I will be calling her Liana for the sake of my child's privacy. I am a single father, and it hasn't always been easy, but we have managed. Before the start of the pandemic, we had moved into a new house in northern Germany, which is close to my parents. Soon after we settled in, Liana started to tell me about her new friend, quickly telling me only she could see him. I brushed it off as she had always been creative, and since we were under lockdown, I thought it was normal, especially since one of her friend's son also had an imaginary friend. Throughout the next few months, she would tell me about him, how he would come to play with her once I put her to bed, and he knew magic, and how his favorite color was blue. I started to get a little worried, as she seemed to know a lot about this friend. At first, I just thought it was because she was missing her real friends and my parents. So I started to spend even more time with her, even doing my work hours beforehand, so I could spend the rest of the day with her. But she still kept talking about this friend. But everything changed 2 nights back. I'd woken up randomly around 3 a.m. I could just feel something wasn't right. So I got up and went to go check on Liana. She was sleeping in her bed, though her blankets were a little different than how I had left her. I figure she had just moved. But as I was leaving, just in the corner of my eye, I saw a figure in the window that looks out into the woods outside of our home. I looked at it for a good 2 minutes before it simply disappeared. I really couldn't figure out what it was. Some part of me was thinking it was my eyes playing tricks on me. But that day, I asked her to draw me a picture of him, and after 20 or so minutes, she gave me this. I don't even know what to make of it to be real with you. I sent it to my mom and the single dad group I am in, and they all said it was scary as hell. I really don't know what to do at this point. I'm becoming worried for my child. I'm just hoping this really just is her mind, but I do not know any more. Any suggestions or tips would be helpful, as I am also worried I am overreacting. The illustration his daughter created for him displays what I presume is the daughter on the right, alongside a figure with extended fingers or nails and long toenails. It is a very unsettling image. Subsequently, there were several comments left for the original poster. One of the comments stated, in some old German books, like from Johann Weir, written in medieval German, a Witting is a child-thieving ghost truck demon who steals them away from their family, like a fae or like Baby Yaga. It's evil, must be invited in, and they do no magic. Look at the picture. Blonde hair, yellow eyes, long nails, tall, and very evil. I'm writing encyclopedias on demonology and supernatural. That's why I know. I'll look up the books it's in and try to take pictures. I have over 4,000 research books on the subject, so it may take a while. Keep her near you always. And then, the OP responds to this strange comment. I don't think there's a way to describe my emotions at this moment. I haven't heard of this, even when I looked up the name to try and get idea of what it meant. I feel like I'm going to pass out. My baby told me she invited him into the house. Please, please, I am begging you to send me anything you have. I'll take anything. And then the OP comments on his post again, saying, "If I'm being honest, that has been keeping me up most of the night. The thought of anyone really being around my child when I'm not there scares me. I am a very rational person, but after reading some of the comments, I'm definitely going to look into more paranormal aspects of this, especially how to make a very good point in this matter. There is still some part of me holding out on the overactive imagination, because that's something I know I can handle, even if that's just finding safe ways to get out of the house more. But I'm worried if it's not what I'm even going to do. I don't have the finances to move or even stay in a hotel for a long amount of time. Should be up in an hour or so. And I do intend to have a conversation with her and try to piece some things together. I've seriously thought about getting a nanny cam even before this, as she is a very active girl and has a few incidences where she needed some help after climbing onto something. And then the OP goes to another subreddit, Ask Mediums, and posts, "I'm worried about my daughter's safety." He posted that on March 5th, 2021. And the post reads as follows: "So someone told me it might be a good idea to do this. My 8-year-old daughter has an imaginary friend who is in the pictures above. He only comes to play with her at night once I put her to bed, and he comes into her room, according to her. I had a very serious conversation with her today, as I'm very worried, as I fully believe I saw something outside of her window 2 nights ago. I just want some help for my daughter. She said his name is Wittig. I did a little digging, and it's an extremely old German name, which makes a little sense as we are from northern Germany, and we currently live here as well. But she's never been exposed to that name before, and I know no one in my family named that. All this started after we moved into our current home. If anyone could help me, I would deeply appreciate it. I have been told my child might be sensitive herself, but I don't know much on these things." And then someone replies to the post saying, "Child therapist here. This has red flags all over it. Get a bunch of flour and pour it all over the ground by her window. See if you can catch any footprints. Imaginary friends are more common for younger kids. By 8, she should be moving on to more age-appropriate peer play. I'm a believer in the afterworld, but we need to rule out physical causes too. I would highly recommend finding a trauma therapist specializing in play therapy to do an assessment. Meet with the therapist alone first to explain what is going on. I have worked on cases like this before and never found a physical cause. Determined and agreed it to be a spiritual form. Worked with a kiddo on expressing feelings about the figure setting boundaries, how to cope if there is fear, etc. But not every therapist has an open mind. And then someone else comments on the thread saying, what has she described their playtime being like? And then the OP responds, saying, from what I can understand, it varies from playing with her toys to going outside and playing a game called Hidden. When I asked her what that was, she said it was a secret game and that I can't play it, or it wouldn't be a secret anymore. And then the original person who prompted the thread replied, saying, okay, secret game does not feel like a good thing. This feels manipulative. And then the OP says, I know. I'm trying to get a bit more out of her after school. I don't think he thinks she's in trouble. And then the person replies, yeah, tread lightly. I think you have the right mind frame and best interest for your daughter. You've got this. And then another response to the post. Someone says, I would rule out the physical, then do quite a few things. Use the flour inside all the windows, or use baking powder. It can double as air freshener. Once you rule out a living person, in fact, whether or not you rule out a living person, secure that window. Spray the panes with salt water, the door sills in the window sills, all of them, without spraying the inside door entrances. Do not tell your daughter what you are doing or why. There is no point in frightening her or making her feel bad. Verbally refuse him permission to enter your home. Announce that no energy living or deceased is allowed in your home without your expressed knowledge and permission. Tell him the hidden game is not allowed. Ask for the help of archangels to remove him. They seldom act without being asked. If Michael is asked, and Wicked is not a positive energy, consign him to Michael to do what Source wishes to do with him. Forbid him to play the hidden game aloud and firmly. If he needs help, Michael will help if he is asked. If you need someone to intervene in the local medium is not available, I will help if sent a private message or a chat request. All offers of help in this sub must be offered free, so that is assured. It is a good sign that she is not frightened. But as a mama bear who is a medium, I like you investigate and protect my children in any way needed. I did not tell them what I was doing. There was no point in informing them when they were small. Follow the directions of smudging your home, and followed those exact same steps with salt. What I saw was a blonde man, perhaps middle ages, straight hair that is dirty, wearing tattered clothes and a leather apron around his waist, 30 to 35, leather shoes that are tied to his calves. He seems to have dried blood around his abdominal area. He had other wounds, but your daughter does not see that. I believe he died defending his home. He seems to be a human spirit. He was outside and attacked. He raised pigs. He farmed. He was outside the window because you do not allow him inside the home. Custom would dictate he can only cross your threshold as an invited guest. He would need to enter through the front door. So, the fact he uses a window bothers me. He appears disheveled, in the sense he appears to be a man whose hands and clothing are soiled from working outdoors. He can only enter with permission. Deny him permission. It is a good idea to involve a medium there locally. It is even better not to warn Whitig or your daughter. If he has her best interest at heart, a medium will be able to sort that out. The hidden game concerns me. He knows better. Forbid him to play it. It may have been a way he taught his children to hide from raiders. However, your daughter should not be hiding from you. Sometimes souls refuse to cross over, and they are trapped in loneliness. Their desire is to feel something overcomes their judgment that is inappropriate to approach a young child. I saw souls at your daughter's age. I was seldom frightened. However, I had ancestors guarding my family. Usually, these souls want help, or at least sense they exist. Children have bright and beautiful souls. They are much more accepting than adults. This soul needs help, but not from a child. If he can be crossed over, it would be best for all concerned. If he does not appear to be untidy, I would be more inclined to believe he was a spirit guide. I do not see that being the case. I wish you and your daughter the best in life. I am so glad that you listen to her and that she tells you what she experiences. You may have a psychic child on your hands. Many blessings, sir. A parent's love is the strongest love that exists. That post was from someone claiming to be a psychic, who professed to be able to see the man that was visiting his daughter. I'm not sure if you all believe that kind of thing. I would tend to call it nonsense, but I felt it was worth mentioning for the purpose of this thread. In any case, let's move on to another post, the original poster shared. I'm worried for my daughter's safety update, posted on March 9th, 2021. So after a bit of a delay, the update, I think it should state the reason for the disappearance. Through a comment given to me by a response, I was informed that it is a demon ghost, whatever you want to call it, that is known to steal children. Without saying, they sent me into a state of panic, as I would like to think any other parent would feel. I didn't leave her side until she left today. She was supposed to leave on Monday for my parents' house, but something came up, and we had to wait until today. Without saying, I collapsed shortly after she left. I hadn't slept more than 40 minutes every night. Before I go into our conversation, I'm getting the house completely cleansed by a Catholic priest. He's coming over tomorrow, and then plan to have the place cleared out with sage. And I'm doing basically everything I've been told to do, even planning to get a rose quartz gem to place outside her window. She is very much aware that something is wrong at this point, as I had her sleep in my room for the last few days, and could tell I got very paranoid at night. I told her that there have been a few burglaries in the area and was just worried. I also plan to be getting a nanny cam for her room just as extra security, just in case it doesn't leave after all of this. The original post I had meant to share this morning after she woke up and ate breakfast. I decided to sit her down and ask her about her friend, mostly asking simple questions. The main ones were, what was his name? Has he ever asked you to do bad things like hurt herself or me, and if she was scared of him? She told me he said to call him Whitig, which is a name I've genuinely never heard of my life, and that he never told her to do anything bad or hurt herself or me. Like I said, I was informed that this is a demonic entity that steals children, and she's only ever been scared of him once. Of course, I asked why, and she proceeded to tell a story of when he started to come over to play. She said it's a few hours after I put her to bed, and she was having a hard time falling asleep. But she noticed something outside and had gotten up to investigate. Apparently, he slowly started to move to the window until he was right in front of it, and just stared at her like he was, in her words, very sad and upset. So, of course, being the sweetheart child, she wrote a small note and pressed it to the window, asking if he was okay. And apparently, he shook his head no. She somehow managed to open the window a little bit, and then asked why. She was told it was because he was very scared of the dark and had no one to play with. So of course, she offered to play with him. He told her he would look like that, but before he could, she had to invite him inside, which she did. This is when I started getting scared. She said after she did, he smiled and pushed the window open and crawled in on all fours, which made her very scared, and she started to cry, but apparently he comforted her, and then did a magic trick. I, of course, asked her what the trick was, and she said he made all of the lights turn on in their room to show her he wasn't scary. I start to ask her more, and what other magic tricks he had done, and they range from making flowers appear to taking both of the outside. Apparently, he also likes to show her these stars and moons, which is why she added them to in her drawing. I'm starting to believe the latter, that this isn't just an imaginary friend. The amount of detail she went into, constantly referring to him being real, and just many other things. I'm just glad she's out of the house until Thursday. I think it is very pissed off with me though. Starting a night ago, I woke up with huge scratches on my arms and horrific headaches which I've never had before, as well as having very strange issues while trying to translate this. having a bunch of random ones scattered throughout my writing. At this point, the pain doesn't really bother me. It's more of the fear of it, trying to get to my daughter again. I don't know if I should tell her the creature's origins, or if I should wait until she is much older to explain this to her. I will be trying to keep everyone updated, but tomorrow is going to be an extremely busy day, as I also plan to go to a crystal shop and just ask what crystals would be best to protect her. And we never received another update from the OP. That is a truly frightening story to consider. Regardless of whether you believe in the paranormal or a real-world explanation, both scenarios are terrifying as described. If a real man was coming to his daughter's window each night and asking to be let in, that is, of course, horrifyingly scary. And if it was some kind of paranormal entity that was potentially going to take his daughter, that is also incredibly frightening. I'm not sure what ultimately occurred, and, as I mentioned, the original poster was never heard from again, but I hope that he and his daughter are safe. Now, let's move on to the next one. My stepfather killed my mother and then committed sword. I don't know what to do. I don't really know what to say. The police just showed up in front of my door and told me my stepfather killed my mother. Thursday, July 23rd, 2020. I know this doesn't sound real. I have my boyfriend and my best friend here. I've known this for about 2 hours. It still doesn't seem real. I don't really know what I want to accomplish with this post, but I swear it is real. It's 3:51 a.m. in Berlin right now. We were trying to finish watching the movie that we started before, but the police rang at my door. I don't know what to do. Edit. The police just called me. My stepfather committed sword. I wish I could destroy him right now. I just feel empty. I don't even know why I'm posting here. I'm usually just a lurker. I guess I just want somebody to know. I feel like the whole world should know. My mother is the most amazing person, and she'd always been my idol. I don't know how to feel. I'm in our apartment, and I feel like everything I see is her. My evening started so different. Everything started so different. I haven't slept yet. I don't know how I will, though. Sleeping is usually my talent. Mom wakes me up every afternoon if she feels like I'm sleeping too long since I moved back in during the pandemic. Update. My stepfather killed my mother and then committed sword. I don't know what to do. Posted Friday, July 24th, 2020. And this post was originally deleted by the OP but recovered through the Wayback Machine. And the posts read as follows. Hello. My last post got capped, so I made a throwaway account. It's been about 24 hours since the police stood in front of the door to my mum's in my apartment and told me that my mother is dead. I've cried so much today. I feel like it's been an ocean of tears, so much that I just feel empty now. I miss her so much. It still just feels like a bad dream. This can't really be real. Her death was on the news, and I saw a picture of a body in a blue body bag being rolled into the back of a wagon. That is my mother in that bag. Oh my God, I'm going to run down what happened again. Maybe this will make it more real for myself. I don't know. My boyfriend and I were in the park playing speed mitten on Wednesday evening when my mom called me and told me she'd be coming home. I asked her if everything was okay, and she said yes, not to worry about it. And my boyfriend was still welcome to come over if he liked. I told her okay. I would see her in a moment. We both went home and she wasn't there. I wasn't worried. My stepfather and my mum have been together for a while, and they're very much in love. But they can fight a lot sometimes. They always make up very quickly. I tried calling her several times to know if she wanted dinner, and sent her text messages, and texted, and called my stepfather as well. They didn't answer. This wasn't so unusual either. I thought they just made up. I'm guessing by this time he had already stabbed her. I feel sick writing the sentence. The police showed up at 3 in the morning informed me, stayed in the apartment while my boyfriend called my best friend, who rushed over with a taxi. Everything is kind of a blur from then on. I remember sitting down to write the Reddit post, because I didn't know how to feel or what to do. And I guess I wanted to scream my pain into the internet void. At that point, my stepfather hadn't committed Dord yet. He had taken his car up into the countryside, where my mother has a tiny little house at the lake, which is her pride and joy with her garden. Both of them went up there every weekend together. He committed sword there, the bastard. I've never been so angry in my life. I loved him. He was a part of my family. We got along really well. Some part of me wishes I could strangle him or scratch his eyes out. I just want to scream in his face how he could do this to me, to her, my lovely mother. She is such a light. She is such an incredible person, and we are so close. I told her everything, and not just because she's my mother. She is truly an absolutely amazing person. Everybody who met her loved her. I stayed awake until about 6 a.m. I smashed a few glasses. I cried a lot. We finished watching the movie. Today, I had to call all the people, my grandparents, her brother, her friends. I had to call my stepfather's children in the UK and tell them what happened. I can't imagine how hard it must be for them. My mother was the victim. Their father was the murderer. I feel so bad for them. I've gotten so many calls and messages from people who are offering to help me in any way I need, who cry on the phone and ask me if this is real. To have to tell people over and over again what happened really wrecked me, especially my grandparents, my granddad. I don't know how he's going to get through this. He just kept screaming, "No, no, not my mom's name. I have to go to the police today to give a statement." Probably talk about their relationship. I have to be there in 4 and 2 hours, and I haven't really slept yet. I can't really eat either. I just feel like throwing up, just thinking about food. I wanted to thank you all for the comments on my first post. I know we don't know each other, but I'm just some faraway voice on a screen with a terrible fate. But I did feel better reading your hugs and encouragements. I will have to think about getting a lawyer. My dad is sleeping in the other room. We're going to have to figure out how to go from here. Some part of me honestly doesn't see a point anymore. There's so much pain in my life. I've had so many bad experiences. I got through a word and a drug problem, and everything was on its way up. And now, this. But I love my mum more than anything, and I can't disappoint her. And I'm going to need to be here for my dad and me. I'm sorry for the long text. I just feel like I need to get something out. I feel so lost and empty. I miss my mum. Monday, August 17th, 2020. Hello? I guess in some way I wanted to give you people an update on what has been going on with me. When I posted my first post, I was slightly drunk. It was the night the police showed up at my house and rang the doorbell, and I was confused. All of your messages from random strangers, help me in some way. I'd like to thank whoever sent me that poem by Mary Elizabeth Fry. Do not stand at my grave and weep. We use that for the invitation to her party. And also Bionica, who painted that beautiful painting of her, which she sent me by email. Thank you. And then the poem, I'm not going to read it here just because it is quite lengthy. But I'll have it on screen so you can read it. And then the post goes as follows. Also, fair warning, this might be quite a long post. This might trigger someone, and I've been writing this post over several days, as more information keeps trickling in, and the picture of that night is becoming clearer and clearer. I think I'm also mainly writing this for myself. What happened that night, the 23rd of July, is just still so surreal. I'm sitting at my mother's desk right now in her little office in our apartment that I grew up in Berlin. Her presence in some way is all around me. It has been 23 days since the police showed up in front of my door at 3 in the morning and asked if they could come in since my stepfather committed sword. Everything has been so confusing. It's all sort of a mixture between crying, screaming, yelling, throwing things, and just emptiness. I go through phases. Someone linked the famous post about grief and God. It's so accurate, and it's really hard to cope. Since that night, I haven't ever actually been alone. This is somewhat exhausting to me in some ways, but probably also very important. I'm going to go through the series of events and facts, because I also want to set it right. Since the media, since some of you found the articles online and connected the dots, there is so much false information. It's hard to believe. My mother and my stepfather were together for 8 years, and he has only been living in Berlin since then. He has children from his previous marriage. That is all I will say. I am my mother's only daughter. He did not call me and confess to what he did, as many report, but he called some vaguely mutual friend who he walks his dog with sometimes. This was sometime after 11 p.m. At this point, he was already up at the summer house. It takes about 1 hour and 45 minutes to get up there. This means my mother had been dead for about 2 hours. It says so in the police report as well. The summer house did not belong to my stepdad, but to my mom. She poured all of the little money she had and renovated it by hand. It does not in any way belong to him. The police showed up at my mum's in my apartment late at night. They didn't know the address of where he might have gone, and were also worried he might come and harm me since he had the keys to our apartment as well. I was watching a movie with a friend of mine. I posted on Reddit a few hours later. The news articles started coming out the next day connecting my stepfather to a celebrity. I posted because I needed help. This celebrity and my stepfather are by no means friends. They are acquaintances, and there is no reason for him to be brought into any of this. That was Wednesday night, Thursday morning. On Friday, I was at the LKA Criminal Police and gave a 3-hour statement about them and their relationship. This next part is about my feelings, and mainly about my mum. Feel free to skip it. Since then, my whole world has been turned upside down. My mother, the person I honestly loved most in the world, was just torn from me. It feels like I have this big bleeding hole inside of me. I'm not crying all the time. Sometimes I feel okay, but more like empty. My mother has been with me my whole life, the whole 21 years. And I'm not just saying this because she is dead. She is honestly the best mother you could wish for. She is goofing and caring. Her laugh is infectious. And she has such integrity. She's the most animated person. When she tells a story, she will get up from the table and gesture all around. Her eyes are so shining. I think I might show some pictures of her because I want people to recognize her beauty. I want the whole world to know she's gone because this is an honest and devastating loss to the world. She is so talented. She got a Bachelor in Art of History in America. She has worked odd jobs all her life. She's always been a hippie. When I was little, she started working at this English language summer camp in Thurin in Germany, and she used to take me there for many weeks with her on a hill, on a farm, in the middle of a giant forest. She's a magician in the kitchen. She can open the fridge door and magically make something out of the leftover ingredients that nobody would ever think tastes good. Noodles and carrots, anyone. She likes to make everything herself. She would let milk go bad and make her own ricotta. I have 1,000 jars of her homemade chutney and jams. She baked her own bread years before the pandemic. She made her own vinegar, her own syrups and alcohol, and her hot sauces are legendary. I used to come home and open the fridge door, and I'd ask her which of the many bowls she had covered with little plates were edible, and which weren't ready yet. Since she's dead, I have found so many started experiments of things I don't even know what they are. I wish I could ask her. There are so many things I wish I had the time to ask her. The emotional narrative continues for several more paragraphs. I wanted to share a small part of this emotional section, because I believe it's important to grasp what OP was experiencing. This post, and the thread as a whole, are clearly disturbing and awful, but they also provide insight into what it's like to endure something of this nature. I feel it's also important to understand who the victim was. It's just a horrible situation. Anyway, let's get back to OP's thread. It's important to preface that I knew their relationship, or to be more exact, I was the closest to both of them together. And it's important to understand that he wasn't some creepy, abusive, scary bad guy. I loved him. He was like a best friend to me. When he came into my mother's and my life, I took him in with open arms. I've confided in him. I've told him secrets. We've had running jokes. We made bets with each other that I usually won, and he had to pay up. He was my family. This makes me feel just as conned. I feel cheated. I feel like I've been blind. I've had bad fights with them as well, and I knew about their fights. But I didn't see this coming. Not even a little bit. I would never put my mother in harm's way. I guess this is why she must have kept things hidden from me. The murder happened in his apartment. They had separate apartments. And afterwards, he drove his car up to my mother's country house that they both spent every weekend at hunting mushrooms, planting and building things, going swimming in the lake that's right in front of the door. This was their refuge. And I'm assuming this is the reason he went there. Since the day this has happened, I've always assumed he blew up about something, lost control, and he killed my mother while he wasn't clear-headed. This is what made sense to me. Then he committed sword because he killed my mother because he didn't know how to continue. But the more time goes by and the more facts we uncover, we being my mother's friends and I, not the police, the more it seems it was the opposite. That he killed my mother because he wanted to commit sword and that he was covering something up. Since the night the police showed up, they've been asking me if I could know where their laptops are. They both had a laptop, and both are missing. They found the empty cases, but they're gone. This sparked suspicion in us. His phone is gone as well. My mother's is not. The police gave it to me. Then, there are the other facts. Despite what is said in the media, she didn't have multiple stab wounds in her chest. There was only one very precise and very small wound that caused her death. He only let someone know what he did after he was up at the house. When he arrived at the cabin, he apparently parked normally, even greeted one of the neighbors. The pieces are falling into place, that this was cold-blooded. I don't really know why I'm writing all this down in a Word document and why I'm going to post it on Reddit, but I need to share. I feel so much hatred and so much anger. I feel it boiling underneath my skin, and it keeps threatening to come out. I've smashed so much stuff. I've gotten so angry. Sometimes I snap and I scream at people. And other times I just cry and beat my pillows. And sometimes I'm very calm. I can still feel joy. And my mother had this amazing circle of friends that I've known my whole life and who are supporting me. I saw her body in the coffin, and I will never be able to get that image out of my head. She was so tiny. It breaks my heart. I've also slept 2 nights at the cabin, and in the dark, every shadow looks like my stepfather. I've become scared and started locking my doors at night. Murder used to seem something so far off, something that happened to other people in a different world, separate from mine. But now it's not. And I won't let him spoil her place, her house. I won't let him take that away from her and from me. I refuse. I just miss her. I miss everything about her. It hasn't been that long yet. And all I want is for her to hug me and say my name and say she loves me and that she thinks I'm an amazing young woman. I want her to cuddle with me in bed, which she did for so many years, until I felt myself too old. I want to sit at the kitchen table in the morning with her and have her ask me what I dreamt about last night, and have both of us talk about our dreams. For her to talk with me about my story ideas and my poetry, and to talk with her about the book that she was writing and will never finish. It just hurts so much. I don't know how to ever get past this. She has always been the most amazing person I know, and I can't get over this. I don't know how to get over this. I feel lost. I feel like I have to grow up very fast now and carry her with me. There's so much more to tell, so much, but I should probably stop somewhere. I would appreciate all advice. Thank you for reading. And then OP shares some photos of her and
very, very sad.
Very, very sad.
And just kind of makes it more real. I don't know.
I don't know.
But yeah, very sad story.
Very
and
sad
I feel
story.
So sorry.
And I feel so sorry for
and
OP
what she's had to
and
go
what she's
through.
had to go through.
And then she makes
another post 3 years later. She said, "Hey everyone, imagine my surprise scrolling through Reddit on my living room couch this fine afternoon when I see a little picture of my mum and me in my feed. Was not expecting that at all. And then to look further down and see all of these wonderful and heartfelt comments underneath. I could not believe it. And I actually started crying again. This is the reason I reached back out into the void, as I called it at my darkest time, and Reddit reached back and gave me something to hold on to when you lose your faith in humanity in that way. I needed the love that came from so many strangers all over and the support. Yesterday was actually my birthday. I just turned 25, so it has been a bit over 3 years, and I can't believe that 3 years have passed. I can't stand to believe that much time has passed without her. Thinking about it makes it hurt more. I miss her so much. Thank you to everyone for worrying about me and wishing me well. I'll give a quick update, and one of these days maybe sit down and write something more out. I've been in therapy for almost 2 years now, and I have a wonderful therapist that helps me greatly. It took me a while to find her, and there was a lot of trial and error with former therapist. But she's amazing, and I'm so happy I have her. She actually says that I have improved greatly in a number of things. I'm a mess, though my mother's murder is something that I've buried very deep down below in the darkness of my psyche, and we haven't quite reached it yet. My therapist says it's more important not to force everything out at once, but to go step by step. She says that I'm protecting myself by keeping it numb. I think I agree. I do feel a particular kind of numbness ever since that happened. A few times during a session, we cracked through that wall, and what spilled out was, well, horrifying pain. So, I'm fixing everything else that needs fixing slowly and steadily, and it's going very well. I feel like I owe this to my mother, since I seem to have a tendency to get myself into toxic relationships as well, and I'm not ready to go down that path any longer. Hence myself taking a break from relationships. I think a comment mentioned that I said that in my podcast. Shortly after my mother's murder, I got 2 cats, since my mom and I had cats growing up, and she loved them. So one of them looks exactly like the reincarnation of our cat, NS, which I know she'd love. I still live at home, and I live in her room now. With all of the hundreds of books she collected, and my own collection of novels I've added, my father and I held on to each other tightly throughout these last few years. I honestly don't know what I'd do without him. He's my rock. My father threw himself into working on the cabin. I think he loves being out in nature, but I think he also loves feeling like he can do something for my mum. Every time he drives up, he brings flowers, and we have a little picture of her leaning against a tree with a candle in front of it, and he puts them there. I also know my mum would be positively thrilled with seeing everything we've done. I really feel her up there, and have completely eradicated my stepfather from that place. It started out with stubbornness, but by now I just really believe there's nothing at that house of him, and if there was, it can go and write off. I'll post some pictures with a link later. I'm very lucky, because I have some absolutely lovely friends, especially in the past few months. I've recognized just how amazing they are, and how much support I have coming from there. Sunday evening, I planned to celebrate my birthday in a park in Berlin, and I was so touched by how many people showed up. I teared up multiple times throughout the night. We spent a lovely night drinking and playing cards against humanity and werewolf. Germans will know what I'm talking about. My closest friends J, E, and T helped me so much with setting it up. T baked me a cake, exactly like my mother used to make me, after very slightly getting me to talk about it a few weeks later. A lot of bad things have happened in the past few years. I can't lie, but also many good things, and I continued to fight on. If you guys are interested, I can give an in-depth report also on what else we found out back then. But I should probably get up off this couch and go enjoy the last Berlin sun rays. This also got way longer than I expected. Thank you all for your lovely comments and well wishes. I'm relieved that this disturbing post concluded on a positive note, or as positive as it could be, given the circumstances. It's hard to imagine what OP endured, with her mother being murdered by her stepfather, who then committed suicide. The whole situation is horrific, but I'm glad it ended on a somewhat positive note. I just hope OP is doing well these days. Now, let's move on to the next one. I shot my stalker tonight, posted on September 24th, 2014, and this was all recovered with the Wayback Machine, and the original title was Anyone Had Success with Private Investigators. For the past 6 months, I have been relentlessly stalked and had threats against my life made from someone I dated for a month. It started with phone calls upwards of 45 to 50 a day, 50-page text messages, and him showing up outside my house at 5 a.m. When I wouldn't comply or feed the negative attention, I began to receive threats, claims that he would murder me and get away with it. All he would do is have to flee the country, telling me he shouldn't have to force me to be his friend or give him another chance or else. Every time I blocked his number from contacting me, he would then call me from different ones, try and pretend to be other people, or have his friends, or sometimes even random strangers he'd ask on the street. I once scared an unsuspecting guy half to death after informing him that the person who had just told him to call me was actually stalking me, and I sent him proof. He ended up calling the police on him. He fled, of course. After about 2 months of that, I was evicted from my apartment building due to my neighbors no longer feeling safe because of his looming presence. I then applied for and was granted a TPO. A few days afterwards, I received a picture message of the note that the Sheriff Civil had left on the door of my stalker's then residence, with a message taunting me that what you are trying to do was stupid, and a restraining order is just a piece of paper. So ultimately, he just ended up avoiding the process server. And simple as that, I was not being protected at all. May 31st of this year, I relocated. This did not deter my stalker. He vowed to find wherever I moved to, and threatened that if he couldn't find me, he'd be able to find my family and then proceed to send me a map of my mother's home, whom he had never met. I received a message from a woman claiming to be a former landlord, letting me know that I owned a balance on my account, and to avoid late fees, I needed to pay the amount, which I would do with the link provided in the message. Turns out it was my stalker pretending to be a woman, and the link turned out to be a tool used to grab the user's IP address when the link was clicked. Upon this discovery, I changed my phone number and began to systematically dismantle any trace of my online presence I once had. This action only seemed to anger him, and before deleting the profiles outright, I would attempt to block him from contacting me. Each and every time I blocked one, he simply created a new one and proceeded to contact me as if nothing had happened. 12 different Reddit accounts, 9 different Tumblr, 10 different Instagrams, 3 Meetup accounts, 4 Facebooks, with which he changed his location to that of my hometown, and proceeded to add nearly everyone from my graduating class in high school, and even 3 Duolingo accounts and MySpace. Yes, MySpace. I then received an empty package from him addressed to my former residence with the declaration, "Add address correction requested. Do not forward." I'm assuming he thought that the post office would adhere to his requests and returned the package to him with my new corrected address on it. Mid-July, he created a profile using my photos and likeness to threaten my family. When I didn't respond, he proceeded to post semi-nude pictures of me on the profile in attempt to blackmail me into speaking with him. I did not, and contacted Twitter to report the account and have it removed, which they eventually did. On August 21st, 2014, I awoke around 8 p.m. to vigorous knocking and ringing of my doorbell. I look out my window and to see who it is, and I was horrified to see my stalker there. I called the police, and of course, he fled once again. Over 7 separate police reports filed. This incident was followed by threatening emails from my stalker demanding that I meet him somewhere, or because he had found me. That next time I would wake up to gunshots, and that if I didn't, he would first taser you and arward you in the arse using your boyfriend's blood as lube. This past Sunday night, I woke up at 6:45 a.m., due the ringing and banging again. I proceeded to record him on video while I was on the phone with the police. He fled on foot once again, and I was hit with the same hoopla from law enforcement. Well, we can't really do much because technically, at this point, he's not doing anything wrong. Then why does he flee, I wonder? I obtained a TPO again, but I have no solid address for this dangerous person, which is why I am in dire need of a private investigator to assist with finding said residence so this person can be served. I hope you might be able to refer me to someone who might be able to assist me. I've developed insomnia, depression, anxiety, and paranoia. I am completely isolated. I am 22 years old, and I have no social life anymore. I have 0 friends. I've become a shell of my former self. I faced eviction and lost a job because of this man's behavior, and I don't know how much longer I can survive. There's actually so much more filler that he has done to terrorize me. But for the sake of this already lengthy post, I tried to condense it. I have proof in the form of recordings, event diaries, and copies of all of his threats, interactions, and attempts to communicate, and would be more than willing to email them to show I'm not lying. I am NLV, if that helps at all. She then provides a summary, but the story is still wild. Afterward, there were some relevant comments. One person wrote, "Can you post the video?" And then OP said, "Yes, but I'm on the phone with the police during the video. I'm not 100% sure how to blurt out certain information like my address and my phone number from the audio in the video." And then some more comments on the post 3 days later, on September 27th. Someone says, "Damn, I remember talking to an old friend of mine from Vegas who was saying she'll get a CCW soon. I kind of think I should forward this to her. Soon just doesn't seem soon enough." And then OP says, "Do it. My gun saved my life." Subsequently, OP posted again on October 8th, 2014, 2 weeks after her initial post. She included an image showing a photo of a door that is slightly ajar. A chair is pushed to the side in front of it, and black paint has been applied to the side of the door that was broken in. Arrows, likely from a crime scene unit, are affixed to the door, indicating specific spots. OP then wrote the following on the thread. I had to retrieve this from Imgur, as she deleted the original thread. The post read as follows. I'm writing this, staring at the mess the police left for me in a bit of a fog. After 6 months of stalking and threats against my life, my stalker finally snapped and decided to kick my door in and make good on his promise. Out of fear, the past month, I'd begun sleeping with a chair propped against my front door to give myself a few extra precious seconds in case of emergency. I shudder to think how differently things might have turned out if I had not barricaded the door. I awoke around 1:15 a.m. to the sound of the door giving way, after one kick followed by the sounds of my stalker struggling to dislodge the chair while forcing his way inside. I jumped up and grabbed the gun I've learned to do everything, even shower with. I stood at the top of my stairs and fired twice, hitting him in the chest. I hear his scream, his disbelief that I'd stood up for myself. 0 to 100 in milliseconds. I've never been so afraid in my life. I do not know if he is living, but I do know the police have him, and that's what helps the most. 4 months of him evading the police, I began to question whether he was unstoppable, untraceable. Houdini, he would murder me and get away with it. As of now, I'm in a haze of guilt, surprise, relief, and disbelief. I shook as the canines drag him out of his hiding place under a bush. I survived where so many people do not. Holy shit, I survived. Edit. The outpouring of support is wild. I can't thank you guys enough. Everyone can be a critic, and the fact still remains. You don't know what you will do in a situation until it's presented in front of you. Those who believe there was other things to be done have never had someone tell you that you no longer deserve to draw breath and mean it. As for the should have fired a warning shot folks, there are no warning shots. A gun is a deadly force. You only pull that trigger if you are in fear for your life, and all the other methods of deterring are gone. When he kicked my door in, there was no longer a deterrent preventing harm. Warning shots are dangerous, and could hurt the not a Wild West movie. That's what responsible gun ownership is. I'll update once things have calmed down a bit. I promise I'll write back to everyone, and after being isolated for so long. Anyone who wants to be friends, I am always accepting those. And now for the news article, which confirms OP isn't lying. I didn't think she was, but this makes it all legitimate. I'll quickly read through the news article. which was published on October 2nd, 2014, Las Vegas in Nevada. A woman shot her stalker after he kicked in her back door. She had been living in fear, showering with a gun and propping up a chair against her door for just this sort of situation. Her post to Reddit made the story go viral. She writes, "I'm writing this staring at the mess the police left for me, in a bit of a fog." And then it continues to what we read just earlier. Police say former boyfriend Douglas Eugene Jackson, who was 22, kicked in her door at around 1 a.m. last Friday. "I awoke around 1:15 a.m. to the sound of the door giving way after one kick, followed by the sounds of my stalker struggling. And you know the rest of the story, we just went over this." KVUE-TV reports that Jackson left the scene and tried to hide in some bushes. Police dogs quickly found the stalker. He was treated for his injuries at University Medical Center of Southern Nevada. Jackson now faces charges of home invasion and aggravated stalking. For months of him evading the police, I began to question whether he was unstoppable, untraceable, and you know the rest. The victim does not wish to be identified, has saved many threatening texts and social media posts from her stalker. She says he forced her to move, obtain a restraining order, and acquire a license to carry a concealed weapon. The victim followed up with a note. The outpouring of support is wild. "I can't thank you guys enough. Everyone can be a critic, and the fact still remains. You don't know what you will do in a situation until it's presented in front of you. Those who believe there was other things to be done have never had someone tell you that you no longer deserve to draw breath and mean it." And then it continues to what we just read. The Daily Mail also has an article on the case that includes the text evidence submitted by the OP. I am going to quickly read through some of the texts, which are just insane. The OP says, "Leave me alone, that's all." And then the stalker says, "I love you. I'm at my friend's apartments now. It's right down the street by yours. I'd like to see you. Why are you being so anti-Doug? Doug is good people. Doug says he'd come in over there now." And then he says, "Doctor, or then live your life. Enjoy it. I may do what I feel I need to, because obviously we can't be civil anymore. I'm about to ruin your life. Right. About want to end this. Cops everywhere. Yo, not cool." And then an update on the case in 2020, which was 6 years later. Reno, Nevada. A Nevada man has been sentenced to 15 years in prison after pleading guilty to stalking a female acquaintance while on parole for a similar crime that happened in Las Vegas. The Woe County District Attorney's Office in Reno announced the sentence for 28-year-old Douglas Eugene Jackson on Friday. Jackson was arrested in Florence, Arizona in January and pleaded guilty to the aggravated stalking charged in July. According to prosecutors, an investigation by the Sparks Police Department determined Jackson had sent numerous threatening text messages to a woman over several months in 2019. The texts included threats against the woman's dog and property. He also called the woman's family and friends in an effort to get information about her. At the time of the threats, Jackson was on parole for stalking a former girlfriend in Las Vegas. That woman ended up shooting him at her home. According to the district attorney's office, prosecutor Travis Lucia sought a maximum sentence because of the terrifying nature of Jackson's conduct, which came only after 1 month on parole for the previous crime. Jackson was living in Woe County at the time of the threats, but had no steady address. It's truly insane to me that he only received a 15-year sentence. Fortunately, it was the maximum possible sentence. But what do you think he will do when he gets out? He got in trouble for this, was shot for it, and then arrested. And he still did it again. What an absolute piece of trash. I mean, he is going to do the very same thing in 15 years. It has already been 5 years since then, so he only has 10 more years left. God, I hope something happens that keeps him in there longer, because he's just going to terrorize another poor woman. People like that just need to be locked away forever. Went for a tire change. Found a tracker under my car, placed by my roommate. How do I go about this? Posted on SAR Relationship Advice. I'm a 25 female. My roommate is a 34 male. I moved to a new town last year. Only knew one person. Stayed with her for a bit until I found a house to rent, but I needed a roommate. She introduced me to a guy she worked with who also needed a roommate because he just got a divorce. I met him first, didn't get weird vibes, seemed nice enough. About 6 months ago, he made the suggestion to be friends with benefits, and I made the stupid mistake of agreeing. We both did not want a relationship. Everything was fine until he started getting weird and staying up until I got home, questioning me about where I had been and who I was around. I then ended the hooking up, told him I didn't think it was like that. He got mad. Everything was fine for a bit until yesterday. I live in a pretty rural area where most businesses are small and family-owned. Since not a lot of people are getting out, I decided to go ahead and get some new tires and support a mechanic shop I go to since I doubt they're getting regular business at the moment. I'm there waiting when the guy comes over and tells me he wants to show me something. I'm like, okay. We go over to my car and he bends down and points under at a black box. He asks me if I know what this is and tells me it's a GPS. It took me a second to understand the implications of a GPS being under my car. I was like, so someone put it there. It's clear I have no idea why it's there. And he actually got concerned and told me if I didn't know, I needed to find out. I feel so creeped out because I have no friends here. The friend I knew moved away. I only know some people at work, but we're not friends. And it's been hard to meet new people. There's no other way a GPS would be on my car unless my roommate put it there. Now I'm freaked out, in a way I've never been before, and I can't move out. I'm scared to ask him about it. I have no one to stay with, no family here. What do I do? Do I just ask him about it outright? I left the GPS there because I don't want him to know I know at the moment. What do I do? And then some comments under this post read as follows. That is really creepy. Start planning your exit. Document everything. Someone else said, I would be concerned there are cameras in your bedroom and bathroom. Honestly, I would not feel safe to return home. I would immediately call the police and file a report. There are devices you get from a spy store that can scan for the frequency of hidden cameras, but I would not even waste my time with that. My peace of mind would be worth a terminated lease and a breach in contract, which a police report would help you in civil court should you have to go. Run. Do not walk to the nearest exit. And then, some people say, be specific as to how you know, not what you think or believe, but what actual proof do you have that your roommate put the GPS on your car? What I read is that some guy found something on your car. And then the OP said, it's a small magnetic tracking device. Who else would it have been? I know no one in this place is too rural for any kind of crime organization like stealing cars. No one would steal my 7-year-old car anyway. And then someone said, maybe the car dealership put it there. I own it. I've had it for about 7 years since I started college. Paid for it in cash outright. And then there was an update on the post on March 30th, 2020 the next day. Update kind of. I'm gonna put them here. I'm still reading through the comments. Thank you guys. There's really great advice I'm going to follow. PSA, I bought my car brand new 7 years ago and paid for it in cash. I've never owned anything on it. So last night, I decided to subtly pack my things and plan on making the drive at some point today back to my hometown. He works during the day, but I work from home because my office is closed until at least this summer. I realized I could probably fit all of my stuff in my car, and since my lease ends in May anyway, so I'm just moving out. The only furniture that's mine, and not the landlord's or his, is my bed, and it's so old, so I think I'm just going to leave it here. I went down to the police station earlier this morning and had them remove it. I don't think there's much they can do besides document it. They asked me some questions and I said, I didn't know, but I know no one here, and I think it might be my roommate. They said it looked like a cheap one from Amazon or eBay, and they'll check it out. Honestly, I may just end up staying home. I miss being in a familiar place where I know basically everyone in town, and I miss my friends. Working from home for a few months might give me enough time to switch jobs, so that's all I have for now. Thank you guys. I'll try to reply to people as well, and then some comments under the post. OP was replying to a comment and said, I've already gone to the police. Even if I told them, yep, totally. My roommate did it. I know I didn't. I simply strongly suggested it. That is not grounds for someone's life to be ruined. They wouldn't even take that as fact until it was proven. Even if they did definitive proof, I'd have to go through with pressing charges. If I did press charges, then it would be a simple misdemeanor. And at that point, if he got a misdemeanor, it would be rightly justified, since it was all proven. And that's if I would even bother with charges in the first place. All of this minor things compared to if he was an insane loose cannon that could kill/hurt me if I just didn't mention his name. It's ignorant to not piece together the clues and to be safe rather than sorry, instead of just saying, nope, I have no clue, because I do have a clue, and I know it's him. I plan on asking him later today after my 8-hour drive home, so I'm interested in hearing what he has to say. And then OP added an edit/update to the original post on March 31st, 2020, one day after the previous update. Update, since I think it'll be lost in the comments. If anyone is curious, already mentioned, I went to the police at home, all settled in now. Ended up asking him about it via phone. He admitted to it, got freaked out when I said I gave it to the police. Said he was concerned for my safety when I would go places by myself after work. Yeah. Okay. We got into a scuffle about it. He finally snapped and said that he knew I was seeing someone when I was hooking up with him. I wasn't. Oh yeah, my first experience with crazy, and hopefully my last parasite man from Aha confession. Just a quick warning. This next one is genuinely disturbing and disgusting. If you're squeamish about topics related to food, particularly the tampering of food and drinks, then consider this your heads up. Now, let's dive into it. My obsession hurts others around me. It's also my preference, but it goes far deeper than that. I'll try to explain the obsession the best I can by explaining how it started. Basically, when I was young, I caught pinworms. It was a strange feeling, and the itch was painful. My parents took me to the doctor and I got medication to cure it. This event is what sparked my obsession. The thought that my body could be their whole world, their lifeline, almost a planet of sorts. It was so interesting. After that, I began researching pinu worms and other parasites, and I found out the human body already hosts parasites such as Demodex on their eyelashes, and I wanted to know how many a human body could endure without a chance of serious health issues. This curiosity has plagued my mind for years. I'm now 25, but I am very well versed in parasites, as I've been studying them for over 10 years. I also purposely infect myself with non-lethal parasites because it's part of a preference of mine. Some have worked better than others. Quite a few have given me serious diarrhea and fevers, while others have been much more bearable. I currently have pinge worms and tapeworms, various non-pathogenic Pratzoa, and hair down their lice. I am incredibly masochistic. So although it's uncomfortable, I do feel pleasure from it. All these parasites mean I need to eat a lot more than the average person, and I still look thin. And to be quite honest, it means I can enjoy so much more food than most people. I also keep multiple cultures of bedbugs and leeches and containers and allow them to feed on my blood, sometimes. Although those kinds are not really my passion, as they do not live primarily on the human body. But I think they're interesting nonetheless, and I find them pretty cute. Now it's time for my confession. My obsession and fetish isn't just about infecting myself anymore. I also have the desire to infect others, and I have acted on those desires. Sometimes my parasites just pioneer to new lands on their own. My family have caught piney worms multiple times without my intention, and other times I purposely spread them. I have infected strangers, friends, and even my own family. I know it's bad, but I just can't stop. I think I have parasites in my brain that make me feel like I need to spread them. I know how crazy that sounds, but if you knew the feeling, you would understand. Maybe it's just a mental illness, or maybe its origin is parasitic in nature. I really don't know. All I know is it feels good when I do these things. I feel an intense need to spread my children, and when I do, I feel pleasure. I must have spent thousands on my children over the years. I sometimes sprinkle tapeworm eggs into people's drinks when I'm out at clubs. I also caught hair down their lies from relations with a random woman I met at the same club. And in return, I'm pretty sure I gave her PinW worms. So, it was a trade. The woman wasn't even attractive. I just wanted to gift her some pinworms, and instead I basically won the jackpot by sleeping with her. I then spread my hair down their lice to at least 4 other women. Sometimes I also sprinkle worm eggs onto food in buffets whenever I visit them. Holy shit. Like, hold up before I finish the story. That's insane. That has made me never want to eat at a buffet ever again or go to a club ever again. That is horrific. This psychopath legitimately is spreading worm eggs onto food in buffets. That is the most disturbing thing I have ever read. Oh my god. And I guess we will finish what we have started reading. And the post finishes up by saying, "Yes, I understand you would think it's gross and messed up. I am basically betraying my species for my children. It's hard. I do enjoy people, and I have wonderful friends and family, but I also love my parasites, and my preference is just too hard to control. I don't want to hurt anyone when I do these things, but a force beyond my understanding is driving me to do it. I think I could possibly have a parasite in my brain that has not yet been discovered. I'm sorry to all the people I've caused discomfort to, but it's for a cause beyond human understanding. Although this can all be justified, I still feel guilt. I don't want to hurt anyone. I hope the people I spread my gifts to can find it in their hearts to be a little more open-minded and not kill my children, but learn to live with them like I have instead. I'm aware how strange and disgusting others will find me if they knew. I'm aware of how immoral this seems to most people. I assume you may see me in a negative light after reading this. But remember, I only want what's best for my children, and if you were truly in my shoes, I'm sure you would do the same. Wow. There is an incredible amount to process there. His desire to spread his children, and the very act of calling them that, is simply insane. It is so profoundly creepy, and his only goal was just to spread it. He also said he believes his actions are justified, yet he still feels guilt. Oh my gosh. That is one of the craziest and most repulsive stories I have ever read. And it makes me never want to go to a buffet, a club, or hang out with strangers again. I hope that you and everyone watching never encounters a person like that, and catches one of his so-called children. Alright everyone, that concludes this look at some disturbing Reddit threads. To be honest, this has been one of my most favourite videos to produce in a very long time. Thank you so much for watching to the very end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the longer format as well.